Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to Level Up Academy podcast. This is your host, Dr. Leland. So, today I have an amazing individual. We're going to unlock emotional intelligence live. And we have a situation we're going to talk to you about today. It is so exciting because um, lessons learned from everyone, right? That's what we're here for. Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you. I also wanted to stand corrected. So when I created this, I came from Vegas, and not an excuse. Actually, that was my PUFA. I put April Wyatt because April was my last TV show last week, and I put Melissa's name as April. I mean, doesn't she look like an April though? Like here, I love the Melissa name, but all my sisters are amazing, and I didn't mean to disrespect her by putting April's name in there. Quite honestly, so I corrected that. I corrected it on YouTube as well. But welcome to Unlocking Emotional Intelligence and the Power of Empathy in Action. Keep in mind, guys, that we're all human beings. And so when someone invoked anger or disrespect, sometimes we can't help ourselves but be human. So we're going to have that conversation today on what not to do and what to do and how to do it. So welcome again to Level Up Academy. This is your host, Dr. Leyland, and let's start. Are you a curious student, eager to learn new skills and make your mark in the world? Or are you a professional seeking to advance your career and unlock your full potential? You need to be equipped with effective soft skills like communication, problem solving, teamwork, and more. The Level Up Academy by Doc Leyland bridges the gap between education and employment through transferable skills training. Get the soft skills you need to be more effective at work. That's done. Guys, this is so amazing. But here's the thing that I wanted to talk about first as well is our magazine. We have a magazine coming out next week. I do one every quarter. I have one more spot left for, it's not for everybody that I'm putting in this magazine. This second reiteration, I'm looking for soul-hearted entrepreneurs to be featured. Let me explain. People are saying heart-centered. I'm over heart-centered. I am over heart-centered. I've seen so many people saying they're heart-centered, but their actions don't align with their words. Soul-hearted people, I see that their passion literally exudes for everything that they do in all social media. Just because you're on LinkedIn and I'm looking at your LinkedIn doesn't mean I check you out on other social media. Your Instagram, your X, not your X, but Twitter X, okay? Like, let's get that straight. You're like looking at my X? Yes, Twitter X, okay? Your TikTok, if you're on TikTok, some people don't feel comfortable. I think TikTok is fun. Also your Instagram and everywhere else, your YouTube. I looked at everything and some of your messages don't align. I'm not inviting. This is only for people who are soul-hearted, and I really want to pour my heart out on elevating and amplifying this soul-hearted entrepreneurs that's coming out next week. So looking for one more spot is left. Let me know if you have any questions. The deadline is tomorrow, so literally I have 10 questions and I can write very fast, so I'm not so worried about that. OMG! Look at this. I didn't put Harsha in there because I wasn't sure if he was coming, but I think he said he is coming. So the first anthology that I published, this is actually, I've been part of 4 anthologies now, but this is the very first one that I myself publish as a publisher. And I found out, first we published it on Amazon, but I found out that Amazon is limited to less than 15 countries. So if you're self-publisher and you're on Amazon, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to level it up. So I tested it, and some of our friends who are outside of the 15 countries that Amazon have couldn't buy our book, and it was so frustrating. And if you have a Japan following, certain books they don't allow even in Japan, right? So I'm like, so how do I disseminate my words and my messages? So I looked it up and I now found a way to do it. Yes, it costs money. It's not free. However, now we're at 40,000 distribution channels anywhere in the world. And my local friends are snooty, the business owner here. If they find out that your book is coming from Amazon and Amazon is the publisher, they won't sell your books physically in their store. They said they don't like Amazon people because they took over business, which is true. I mean, that's their choice and it's their business. But when I said, hey, my distributor changed. I mean, you can still buy our book in Amazon, but they're not our main distributor. They changed their tune. It was something that was really cool to see. And then I got invited to a possibility of getting our books in movies. I got invited to basically put my stuff in Beijing book event. I was like, in China? What? I mean, it costs money, but holy moly. As soon as I did that, it just opened up. The Library of Congress was contacting. I even got my press release room that I own because of that publishing that I did. So just to let you know, this is the book anthology that I've seen so far that in LinkedIn out of my circle of friends that have their own book signing at Barnes and Nobles. Oh my God. It's 1 p.m. this Saturday, guys. If you haven't bought the book, the fastest way to get it actually is through Amazon. And we would love to see you there. If you don't buy the book and you just want to say hello, yes, please. Just say at 810 West Valley Parkway in Escondido, California. That's going to be where it's at. Also, as far as book goes, we have a book club. So Sarah and I, our book club actually is starting next week as well in July. And the book club is not just about writing books. I'm actually going to teach a class in branding your business, how to brand your business. So it's a monthly thing that we do. And by the end of 10 months, if you want to be in our anthology for free, you can. We also have a book called, I haven't put the meme yet because I have to create the vibe, the feeling of my book cover, okay? But it's Rebel with a Cause. Think about what you're doing right now. Think about your business. Don't you feel a little bit rebellious, like I'm doing this because, right? So I'm calling out on people who feels like they need to be a rebel just so they can be heard about their service. And most business owners open up their business because they haven't found a solution to their own problem. And so we build our business based on problem, right? So that's what my anthology is, Rebel with a Cause. I cannot wait to share that with you guys as well. 50 inspirational connections is still coming up. This Sunday is your last day to apply. If you have applied a month ago, yeah, it's running for a month. You will get an email from me. It is free branding for you. When I mean free, there is no like, oh, you got to pay 99 here. And no, it's free, period. You will be featured in our YouTube channel. And basically, you're going to create a 5-minute video. And we actually, it's like a premiere, you like have a movie and it's premiered. Your video that you will submit to me will be premiered in our YouTube on Friday, starting in August. All right. And then, of course, if you need a press release, if you have press release is not like a magazine, guys. Okay. Differences. The difference with press release is if you have something coming up, if you have a new book coming up and you want to announce it to a certain industry, if you have a service that you added, you need a press release. That's where it needs to be. If you have a product, a brand new product that you want to send out there, you need a press release. That's where I have every industry that you can think of. I have access to that. If you do want to be in premium magazines like LA Weekly, Entrepreneurs, Forbes Magazine, Medium, you name it, I got you. I can also put you on magazines that way on top of my magazines. The reason I even added my own magazine and created my own because I've noticed that some of these magazines that I partner with cost $50,000 for 800 words. I'm like, are you nuts? Do you think I'm made out of money? But I partner with them and they give me 60% off for all my people. So just FYI on that one. So this is the magazine. Okay, this is physical and online. My magazine is physical and online. If you're in the US, I can mail you your magazine physically. For our book, by the way, Beyond Boundaries, every single purchase that you have for us, you're supporting the farmers in Madagascar. We're giving them jobs. And we're also planting trees because I'm trying to create forest for my co-authors. So these are the 27 amazing co-authors that I have. Isn't that exciting? I know. I'm the only one excited, probably. Anyhow, last one, Amazon recommendations. So if you actually are looking to do podcasting, you want to represent yourself and you think you're going to just wing it, you can. But why would you want to do that? You need a proper way to do it. I have a class for that, by the way. But I also am recommending things that I own and things that my friends own in this Amazon. So I just got into the Amazon Global Influencer Club. Basically, if you have a book and you want me to add it on my list, you just let me know and we'll talk. And I will add your book on my list so people can get it through that. And it's free. I'll do it for free for all my friends. Just let me know. Okay. But are you guys ready? I am a red hair today. I have bad hair day, guys. I couldn't figure out if I was going to be pink, red, or blue. But red kind of vibes with my lips. So I'm pushing the red today. Are you guys ready? Oh, look, I'm a minute early and there's how many people in here? 334. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you for being here. So let's go ahead and bring our sister from another mister. I hope you guys are ready, but hold on one second if I can. Where in the world? I really wanted to get my other types of music here. That's what I wanted. Drum roll.
I'm all about the red hair, so you can be red hair every day.
Oh my gosh, right? I'm like, yeah, whatever I'm feeling today. It don't matter what you think. It just matters what I feel right now. That's where my vibe is. How are you, Melissa?
I am fantastic, and I'm so excited to be here with you, Dr. CJ. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. So, this is usually my first questions, which we will start with. Think back 20 years ago and find within your timeline some of the significant changes in your life that got you here where you are today?
Man, so I mean, I know a lot of people kind of already know my story, but the big one was, so I was a musician. I was a performing musician. I played French horn. I loved it. Played in the orchestras, did the music thing, moved my whole life out to the West Coast, got my academic job, and within the first 3 months was assaulted by one of my colleagues. And after that, then things got worse because the chair of my department told me that if I continued to stir up trouble, I was never going to be promoted as a junior female faculty member. And the dean told me if I didn't like it, I could leave. So basically, this spun out for about 7 years. It just got worse and worse. Had it not been for that, though, I mean, I would have happily been an orchestral musician the rest of my life. I loved it. I dug it. I liked the music. I loved the people. I loved the performances. But because of that, my life took a completely different trajectory. And that's how I got into the EQ via empathy, because I wanted to find out what happened and why. And I wanted to figure out how to keep it from happening to somebody else.
So you're a rebel. Love it.
Yes. Yes. Which is probably what got me into trouble in the first place.
Hey, listen, if people are just going to take it, right? That's literally what it is. It's if you're going to take it, how are you supposed to change? You have really one life to live. Think about that for a moment. I know it's cliche, but think for a moment. Just take like 10 seconds and put it in your head for a moment. Do you want to live your life every day feeling like someone is always suppressing your thoughts, your mind, your voice? You could die being suppressed, or you could die being impressed by your own self, right? Like, whoa, that was impressive. Like sometimes I do something, I'm like, did I just do that? I think I did. And I have to ask somebody, I'm like, did I just do that? They're like, yeah, you did. I'm like, wow, I'm impressed with myself. I didn't know I could do that. Right? That's why I'm saying, like, you want to be suppressed or you want to be impressed. Like, pick. It's a choice every time. And you can't control people. You can't control people. You can try. What you do is you react and you think you're controlling. You're not controlling nobody. You're reacting to what they're saying and you think I'm controlling this conversation. No, you're not. You're steering the conversation, but you're not controlling it, right? And you can either put fire on that conversation or just put water on that conversation, right? There's really fire or water. And speaking of that, I'm really glad that you stand up for yourself and for the future female educators who's in that same situation, whether it's in that same university or other universities, right? Because we're both educators.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you are here. So tell me a little bit about how you handle that situation and how you stumble upon, hey, I'm going to be talking about EQ.
Well, it was a really long and drawn out thing. And I mean, it was one of those things like to be a French horn professor, you're lucky if 6 jobs come open in the nation in a year. There's just not a lot of them. The classical arts are dying and it's just the way of it. But I was so scared of losing this job because where was I going to get another, that I just hung on and I kept climbing. Like I went to HR to try and find a way around this, and they put everybody through sensitivity training, which of course only put a bigger target on my back because then it was obvious I was talking to other people. I went to the union and they handed me a book on the bully in the workplace. I tried to talk to as many people as I could. And the thing is, so the first two, the chair and the guy who assaulted me, I'm pretty sure were malignant. I wouldn't be surprised if they were actually certifiable psychopath and narcissist. But the people that I kept running into up the chain, it's not that they were bad people. It's that they just didn't have the empathy to understand what had happened. And they didn't have the emotional skills because of that to be able to help me address this situation. I found out after the fact I wasn't the first and I wasn't the last that this had been done to by these same people. But because the entire university was like, nope, we don't want to deal with it. We're just not going to listen. There was nothing I could do about it. And I eventually had to leave. And that was the end of my music career. By the time I left, it was just so broken that there was nothing left. And that's really wrong. What I needed was a little bit of empathy and some emotional intelligence from someone who could say, yeah, this isn't right. We need to put our foot down on this. We're not just going to scapegoat you and cover it up. We're going to fix this, not just for you, but for all of our faculty. because this is not a healthy situation for anybody.
Where was EEOC? Did you report it to EEOC?
I reported it to everybody I could get a hold of. I mean,
State of California literally will give you a lawyer if they find that they have enough evidence to show. Not only the university will make a huge slap. I would have contacted CBS, EBS. I would have created a press release. I mean, like, wrong person. No, you're not doing that crap to me. Sorry. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And I think the reason sometimes that we do, and I'm so sorry that you have experienced that, is that they got the backup to continue their bad behavior, whether it's directly or indirectly. It's a backup to their behavior. No one's gonna do nothing. I'm untouchable. I can continue to harass people. It doesn't matter, because they're gonna cover it up. By them doing that, they're as guilty as charged. B, they're gonna meet someone who is gonna put their foot down. And I think that the hardest part is that because we needed the money, usually it's that we needed the money, we kind of suppressed what we needed to do further even. And sometimes it gets really tiring fighting the same battle every day. And I'm exhausted. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to leave. And most of the time, we don't really sue people anymore for that, because they have bigger lawyers. They're, their universities and things like that. So fighting that battle is a lose-lose situation, right? It seems like it's a lose-lose, but here's the thing. If you're not going to do it, who's going to do it? Obviously, they've been doing it, right? So for me, I definitely would contact EEOC, because they give you a free lawyer and they also investigate. They literally go into the entity. And if they're state funded, they're even going to be worse situation, right? Employee, equal opportunity employer, they will investigate and they will see what's happening with harassment, because that's a big thing in California. And in their employees, and they should be called out for it. And definitely I would like ask a lawyer, I'm like, hey, can I talk to this about on my YouTube, and like tag everyone, all the influencers I know, and let's talk about this issue, because this is not acceptable in our society anymore. So I'm glad you got that to experience. And I wanted to know, and I think you touched a little bit, but what strategies or practices do you recommend for individuals looking to improve their emotional intelligence?
The big one, the one to start with, the one that makes the big difference, is figuring out how to actually use self-reflection to figure out what's going on with you. So many people, and you're a driven, ambitious woman too. I mean, you get this. It's not just women. It's all of us that are driven, and we're ambitious and we want to go. Sometimes we ignore our own feelings. Sometimes we're just like, no, I don't need to practice self-compassion. I can go write this paper. No, I don't need to have empathy for myself. I have too many people that are counting on me. I just have to go. I have to move. I have to make it happen. But by not doing that self-reflection, by not actually having compassion for yourself and empathy for yourself, you lose that connection with yourself, which means in turn, you have a really hard time giving it to other people. So if you want to actually have emotional intelligence for other people and use it actionably, which is one of the things I talk about. I mean, empathy and emotional intelligence are great things to have, but you got to use them. It's like the treadmill sitting in the bedroom with all the clothes hanging on it, right? It's great to have it, but if you don't use it, it's not going to make anything any better. Well, it's the same with emotional intelligence and empathy. It's not enough to have it. You have to be able to use it actionably. So the very first thing you can do, and the most important thing you can do, is figure out how to integrate self-reflection every day with everything you're doing. Because once you can have that in touch with yourself, you can start to be in touch with other people and really understand what these emotions feel like inside and out.
I love that. By the way, I wanted to call out YouTube people. We hit about 2 seconds ago 1,005 people watching us. So thank you so much for the watch. And this is an important topic, is emotional intelligence. Now let's talk about emotional intelligence a little bit, because it's been thrown out. How do you define emotional intelligence?
So emotional intelligence, weirdly, has been around since 1989. That's the first time that the word emotional intelligence was used in an article. And the way it's defined is the ability to understand and control your own emotions, and the ability to understand the emotions in other people, to be able to motivate, to be able to make action happen, to be able to move forward, to be able to make leadership decisions. So even from the very beginning, you're using this ability to understand your emotions and control your emotions, manage your emotions, and understand other people's emotions to do action. I'm going to use this skill to create better productivity because I'm in touch with my people and I understand what they need, to create more innovation because they're not afraid to talk to me, and we can actually collaborate as a team. I heard you use that word collaborate already, and I was just like, yes, say it again. And in the end, that creates better profit. I mean, according to Ernst & Young, which, Big Four consultancy, it could actually increase profit by 84%. Who doesn't want that?
Mm-hmm. Now, what does that look like in terms, because people like to throw big words, but they don't understand the tangible part, like the actionable part, controlling your own emotions, right? How the hell you control emotions? If someone's slapping you, I'm like, I'm happy about that pain. No. Right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's define it a little even deeper. Like when you say emotional intelligence and self-reflection, I've seen people who teaches, actually not teaches, well, yeah, but also talks about like be mindful, be aware, but they're not mindful and they're not aware of their own actions and reflection. So what are some of the exercises that you would tell your client? How do you be mindful? How do you practice emotional intelligence? Because we're all faulty. Even if we tell it, like this weekend, I was preaching to my sisters, like, oh my God, you can't control anything. And, you got to find harmony in your work and whatever, because someone was talking about balance. And it was really hard to show my daughter, like, what harmony looks like between work and spending time with her. And I managed it this weekend. I was like, that was a win. I showed my 17-year-old how to do it. Like, that was a win for me, and I practiced what I preach, but it was hard. I was trying hard, right? So how do you show your clients, hey, how do you self-reflect, and what does that, like, if someone angers you, what do you do?
So as far as self-reflection, what I teach is that you reflect in, you reflect on, and you reflect after. So what that means is you reflect while you're in the moment. You're in this boardroom and someone just challenged you. You have just a second to make that thought go, okay, how am I handling this? How am I feeling about this? What am I doing? They're like micro sessions, but you're reflecting in, you reflect on what just happened so that you understand this situation is what caused this trigger, or this person is going to cause me to feel this way, that sort of thing. And then you reflect after. And this is where I actually recommend that people journal, write it down, or you do like micro meditation and you stop when it's quiet and you actually think about what's happening, what has happened, and how you want it to go in the future. Because without actually stopping and thinking about these things, you really don't stand a chance of changing the outcome. You have to know, every time I see Bob in the boardroom, I'm going to want to throw a pen at him. Well, now that's where managing your emotions come in. So I know I said control. That's maybe not the best word. It's more managing your emotions. So you stop, you understand, yeah, I really want to throw this pen at Bob because his face just makes me want to throw a pen at him. But you keep a cool head and a warm heart. So you stop and you think. And again, this takes like fractions of a second. Okay, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to control my choices in this situation. I'm going to manage my emotions. You understand what's going on within you and how you can manage those to a better outcome. You might still feel anger. You're still going to feel the whole gamut of emotions, but it's how you manage them, what you do with them. Keep a cool head, take time to be rational, and a warm heart. Well, Bob has been having a really hard time. His dog just died and his wife wants a divorce. Maybe there's a reason why Bob is acting this way. And by actually connecting with him on those terms, we can collaborate instead of constantly butting heads.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't have the privilege to know what Bob actually's family is situation.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I have a lot of veteran students, they have PTSD, and they jokingly said, "This homework is giving me PTSD." I'm like, listen, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. class, okay? In accounting, LIFO and FIFO is our discussion tonight. We're gonna have music, guys. We're gonna dance to the music, and then we can do accounting. Are you guys with me? And they're like, Dr. Leland, thank God. And we're gonna have mini breaks in between. So we don't think about numbers, but
Yeah.
when they joke around like that, you have to be, for me, it's like you have to really use two ears and one mouth. Like, listen, because they will give you drop hints on what they're feeling at the moment, right? And
Yes.
you need to really listen and not just kind of brace them through. And I've been a dean at 3 different universities, and I get complaints by the minute. My email was so bad.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm actually bad. My entire email right now is like 122,000 messages I have to read. There's no way in heck
Wow.
22,000 messages. It's not happening.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. And I wanted to do the chastens. Unfortunately, it was, they can take up to 1 year to investigate. To me, it's not unfortunate, because think about it. It's been happening for years. So if I had to wait for 1 year so I could delete 10 years, I would. Nothing in life comes easy. And that's the thing that I want people to know. Just because it takes longer doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. There's still a way. If there is a will, there is a way. People tell me all the time, you can't do this. And I just smile. I'm like, you mean you can't do this, right? Like, you mean you can't. Because you and I, we have two different value systems, and we have different two timelines. And I got ADHD. I can do 15 million things in 1 minute in my head, like literally, right? In my head. In reality, in action, maybe I can do 3 things, like audio rooms, live stream, and YouTube that I'm watching. But Jason, I totally get you. Like, but for me, I look at always the positive in situations. For me, emotional intelligence is not only giving grace to people, but for me, is this worth my wrinkle? Quite honestly, is this worth my wrinkle? Okay, it's not, because people will always have something to say. Whether you like them or not, they will always have something to say. And if something like this will change some culture in my university that I'm affected, and if it takes me 2 to 5 years, just like when someone kills and murders accidentally through manslaughter or vehicular manslaughter, right? Do you think they're going to go to jail in 2 days? No. Do you think that case is going to be done in 6 months? No. Somebody murders your entire family. Do you think they're going to go to jail for life in 3 months? No. Court system takes a year. That's just our government. But I would rather not be silenced and keep going than say, oh, because it takes longer, I'm not going to do it. I will definitely still do it. I always look at the positives on what can I do to keep going. Kinga, deep systematic change is so difficult because it's everyone involved that turns a blind eye. You got ostracized. So true. And I'm sure, Melissa, you can talk about this in your same situation, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'll admit I was quiet because I fully believed what they said, that if I opened my mouth, I wasn't going to be able to go up for tenure and I wasn't going to be able to stay on as a professor. I actually stayed quiet about this for 15 years. The first time I talked about this was just this past March. So they kept me quiet for a long time, and that's my fault. I should not have done that, but I did. And in hindsight, I wish I had done it differently. And as far as a systematic thing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what happened, because the people I was in my department with knew that if the target was on me, the target wasn't on them. They had been through this before. They knew exactly. I was fresh meat. They knew what was going on. I didn't. I mean, by the time this was all said and done, I actually ended up homeless for a short time because it just spun out so bad. And I mean, once you reach that point, it's survival. So I no longer had the energy to be able to deal with what was happening there, because I was living in my car with my cat and deciding if I was going to buy cat food or Melissa food. It was a short time. I mean, I don't want to make it sound worse than it was. It could have been a lot worse, but all the same, doctorate, professorship, went to Yale, living in my car. So it just kind of, I wish I had spoken up. I wish I had taken him to the carpet.
But it's never too late. It's never too late, right? Right now, you're speaking about it. That's one thing I love about you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can silence me and mute me for 15 years. Doesn't mean I'm going to be mute for the rest of my life. And I love that. You're a rebel with a cause. Yes, you are, right? I am going to talk about it because I don't want others to do this. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Sometimes when we look at the system, it's broken and you want to fix it and you can't. I tried. That's why I was at the dean at 3 different universities. I tried because I see the educational systems that's broken. But what I realized, instead of looking at my failures, because I got a lot of failures, but instead of looking at my failures and what I should have done and could have done and I didn't do, duh, it's already done. Now
Yeah.
I'm focused on what am I going to do now that I learned from that moment. You will never suppress me. I will either be suppressed or impressed. I'm going to be impressed. And I live with no regrets with that. And I will apologize after the fact. But I will apologize after the fact. Exactly what I did to you. I'm like, I apologize. It was my fault. There was nobody else's fault because I ran my own show. Um, but take it. There's nothing wrong with apologizing, but apologize anyway, right? Because if you need to, but take accountability for your own actions by reflecting, like what you said. Just reflect on what you're doing and reflect on what you're saying. And I will definitely, I'm not the most patient person. I'll just be honest with you. I will pay to cut the line. I'm just telling you. I'll pay the guy. I'm like, hey, excuse me at Disneyland. I'm like, how long have you been waiting? 45 minutes. I need to go to the bathroom. Can I pay you to stay here? And then when I come back, and they're like, yeah, sure. I go to the bathroom because I am not waiting and then waiting. I can't go. I'm a mom, okay? Like, I can't wait to go to the bathroom. I will pay you. This weekend, we had to wait 2.5 hours to go to Omega Mart. I don't know if you've heard of
Wow.
Omega Mart.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, so there's a way to not be in line this long. What is that? And he's like, oh, yeah, we do. And everyone's looking. I'm like, how much is that? He's like this. I'm like, okay, take my credit card. I am not waiting 2.5 hours. So I went in, and my daughter's like, now I know that your cheapness, because I am cheap, your cheapness and your ability to be impatient actually outweighs your cheapness, mom. I got a good theory to tell sister. I'm like, oh, great. My daughters are planting crap on my head now. I am more impatient more than I am cheap. That's so true. But at the same time, we've learned our lessons. Now, let's talk about your certain situation. I think this is a good lesson learned for the power of empathy in action and unlocking our possible emotional intelligence, right, in action. So, certain someone, we're not going to mention, DM you about certain things. Let's talk about that.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of emotional intelligence, yeah. Well, I mean, there's always, it's exactly like you said, there's always going to be people that want to tell you you're wrong, that want to shout you down, that want to, raise a big dust storm when there's no reason. And I was challenged on my system. How can you make these promises? How can you say that you can actually make this happen? Who do you think you are to be able to do this? And we approached it two different ways, actually, because you and I talked about this before the show. And I actually took the time to respond. And I said, well, I can say I can do this because I have the experience. I've been in leadership positions. I've seen a lot of bad leaders, and I've actually worked to get a doctorate in this, in interdisciplinary leadership, with a dissertation on empathy and leadership. So that's how I can back it up. How else can I back it up? Because I've run case studies, because I've run experiments with some of the people I've worked with, because I've been like, go in and do this and let's see what happens. I've seen people completely change the culture of their department in 10 days. Culture that wasn't changeable for years before that. I've seen somebody go in and completely rework the metrics by being able to look empathically at what's going on and what's behind the numbers and raise their scores considerably, patient satisfaction or customer satisfaction or that kind of thing. I mean, it's real. And your suggestion was let it go. And in hindsight, I'm like, maybe I should have. I'm always trying to change minds and change hearts, but maybe there are times when it's more intelligent to just not. I mean, what do you think? I think it was a fantastic idea.
I can see both ways, right? Like, someone really pisses me off sometimes on DM when they say it. I'll just, YouTube probably can cancel me for saying that. But um, here's the thing. I'm human. I have a bad day. I have bad days, right? And when I'm hot and menopause is kicking in and I'm hot always, and you're sending me these angry messages, my fingers have a mind of their own and they will respond, okay, accordingly. And here's the thing. I have learned that for me, emotional intelligence that I have to talk to myself, me, myself, and I here. I have four names, therefore I have four different Constants in my head. Constance, Jeff, or James. That's three people already. Um, Sometimes, like I told you with sports, right? When you play basketball, there's a whole bunch of people in a team. Like maybe you're just doing one-on-one, right? If I throw you the ball and Melissa picks up the ball and throws it back, we're playing the game, we're engaged. If I throw the ball and Melissa walks out, I'm like, what is that? Bye, CJ, and walks away. There is no game. Melissa will probably irritate the crap out of me because I threw the ball at her, obviously, and she like didn't play the game. What? So I'm more irritated that she didn't engage, right? And for me, when I get irritated with you, okay, this is not all DMs, LinkedIn people, because I get hundreds. Okay, it's not all DMs. I'm just busy. Um, but reflect on your message if I don't respond, because sometimes I don't respond because you got on my nerves. I'll be honest. And I would rather not get a wrinkle or two. Like I've been trying to see if I have wrinkles. And the reason I probably don't have that many wrinkles is I don't engage in people that gives me negative juju. Like if you invoke anger in me, I just walked away and breathe and play with my birds and my dogs and then smile at the world because I'm grateful that I can still be allowed to be angry, right? I'm still grateful for that. And here's another thing with that I've noticed also with Mayo Clinic brain surgeon. Okay, I took her class for like, gosh, 4 months. Is that anger comes in 90 seconds, 90 seconds. So when you walk away from anger after 90 seconds, you're still probably irritated, but you're not that murderous time of your life. Like if you were in my face right now, I would have just, after 90 seconds, you're like, oh, and you're just kind of okay, over it. You're not over it yet, but you're still going to talk about it. But I think there are times where I feel like we get challenged all the time of our own thoughts and our own platform and our own services. Sometimes it's because they don't understand. That's how I see sometimes, like try to take the positive spin, right? And so for me to show empathy is I challenge them to reflect on what they're saying, but I only will reply when I'm in the right mind. Right? Because when I reply when I'm angry, it's not a good scene. And I just realized, you know what, I'm gonna be adult today. I'm not gonna respond to it. I'm just gonna walk away and then read it, because I've read so many messages when I'm like in my zone and it's wrong message. Like when I'm reading it, they're saying something positive, but I'm reading it as negative, right? So I usually send it to other people. I'm like, am I feeling okay? And then my sister's like, yeah, you're right. You did read it wrong, right? And they're so honest with me. And I sometimes give it to my daughter because she's the most brutal person ever. Like, Mom, you're out of line. Mom, don't send that. No, right? She's my psychiatrist, my coach, my guidance, my mentor. She's 17, but she's super sharp. I mean, I read master's program degree with them, my book and master's when they were 5, and they understood most of my students' paper. Oh my God. So I asked her, I'm like, okay, what do you think? She's like, Mom, I think you're just having attitude today. Just let it go. Just go play with Chi Chi. And so I'm like going out, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll play with my Cheerio. But I think sometimes emotional intelligence is not to respond.
Yes. And I think that what you were saying is well, understanding what's going on, because like I got a different message this morning and he had a legitimate question. He was just like, I just have a question. I would just like to know about this. And in that case, I want to have a conversation because I'm doing something that no one else has ever done. So if this is my opportunity to educate, yes, let's have a conversation. Let's invite everybody. What I didn't like was that feeling that I was being judged and that kind of thing. And that's the part I don't like. But if we want to have a conversation, yes, let's debate it all day long, because I may learn something in the process. So exactly what you were saying, making sure you're in the right mind and you're getting the right feeling for it. That's huge with emotional intelligence. That's a big part of it. We were talking about managing your own emotions, understanding that my emotions might be wrong. And then the flip side of that as well is exactly what you're talking about. Anger's in 90 seconds. So if you keep a cool head, but you keep a warm heart, you're going to have a lot better luck managing those emotions than if you just go off like an atom bomb, which I have red hair. That happens. Hopefully not as often, but it can
I,
happen.
I have naturally black hair, but I'm very hot blooded. Like if you said, warm heart, when my heart is warm, I'm ready to fight. But the thing is, I lost friends because of the way they communicate. Um, you're supposed to love your friend no matter what, which I do, but I also have boundaries. I feel like loving you through thick and thin is great, but respecting my peace is wonderful. Again, don't want to have my wrinkles, right? I know it's
Yeah.
selfish of me, but it's me, okay? But here's the thing. When you learn to love yourself fully and you set boundaries for people to be around you as a choice, then they're going to respect your boundaries. You're not going to speak to me that way. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm not trying to be bossy. It's called respect. Would you like me to talk to you like that? Think about it, right?
Yeah.
And so when you continue to communicate that way, I'm out. And I'm not even going to say nothing. I'm just silent. And I feel like silence is actually killing them more than me talking. And I love it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, see, you're getting wrinkled. I'm not getting wrinkled because I'm not passing. Oh, I'm not playing with you. And so that's just for me, that's my emotional intelligence is silence. Silence is golden. Because it just tells you that I'm not playing with you no more. It's over. We're done, right?
Yep.
And my next question to you is this: how can leaders and managers utilize emotional intelligence to really foster positive and productive work environment?
That's a fantastic question because we've been talking about this for 35 years and people still don't know how to do this. So, this is where I talk about employing empathy. You're using emotional intelligence, but you're doing it through the lens of empathy. So, empathy is just understanding what another person is feeling. You're not taking responsibility for that person. You are not fixing it for that person. You're just saying, okay, I understand where you're at. Brene Brown calls it being in the suck together. And I think that's kind of appropriate because even though empathy works for positive emotions, we tend to think of it as in negative emotions. So by first understanding your connection with people, and this doesn't have to be just a person, it can be people. You can relate empathically to a group of people. You then understand which emotional intelligence skills to use because it's this huge basket. You've got this tool bag of emotional intelligence skills that range from communication to patience to sometimes tough love to all of this. But until you connect with these people, either singly or as a group, you don't know if you need a hammer or a chisel out of that bag. So that's how you can actually figure out what you need and then use it actionably. And that's the whole crux.
I love it. I just wanted to recognize YouTube again. We just hit 1,023 people in here talking about
Wow.
empathy. Thank you guys. I appreciate you always. You guys are always here with me, and of course the hounds. Rebels with a Cause, Kinga, sister, August 1st. I know you're also involved in other, but this one is Rebel with a Cause. I'm gonna rock it. Assume positive intent if you can. Yeah, let's talk about
Yes.
empathy, right? A lot of
Yes.
people are like, how do you share your feelings and with other people? There's three types of empathy, guys. First one is cognitive, right, where you have the ability to understand how someone else feels and grasp their own perspective. But how do you do that if you don't know them? Well, recognize and comprehend another person's emotional state or point of view. If you're in audio rooms on LinkedIn, you don't know them and they're actually talking and you got irritated about that. Well, just think on the flip side. What if you are the one who's talking, right? And you actually maybe, just maybe, give them a benefit of the doubt that they wanted to speak up because they're right now they're emotionally unstable and they need help, right? That's cognitive. Just because you don't know them doesn't mean you can't have the ability to understand how others feel if you cut them off, right? The second one is emotional empathy, where you have the capacity to actually feel what another person is experiencing emotionally. This actually allows you to share your experiences most of the time in a better way, right? creating that strong emotional connections. Oh my God, you're a mom too? Your kid is doing that too. Oh my God, mine that's rolling the eyeballs. Urgh. Those are emotional empathy with parents. The third one and the last one is compassionate empathy, right? This helps someone based on understanding and feeling their emotional state. You can tell from people's voice if they're going through something, and you don't need to know them, right? It just meaning give them grace, especially if you don't know them. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree as far as cognitive and affective or emotional empathy. That's totally right. And that's right on. And the nice thing is exactly like you said, even though you may not be able to understand emotionally someone else's experience, if you've had that experience or had that emotion, that's the other thing. You don't necessarily have to have had the same experience. I hear this in DEI and J circles a lot, where it's
Mhm.
like, well, I've never been, an African American female in the C-suite. No, but you've probably been in rooms where you're the only one, where you may have been people challenging you for a reason, where you may understand this emotion of feeling like people are looking at you because of what you are instead of who you are. So you're actually tapping into the emotion and not necessarily the experience. Having the experience helps, but it's not necessary. But the work that I've actually looked at in the research, this is the interesting thing. So affective and cognitive empathy are the actual emotions. Compassion is the action that goes with it. So it's like
Mhm.
you said, you show compassion. So first you feel the empathy. You probably feel some kind of discomfort because of what you just experienced. And then you show compassion. Now, that may be as simple as not doing anything, exactly like you said. You may be being compassionate by just keeping it to yourself. You may be
Mhm.
being compassionate by trying to take care of the situation. You may be being compassionate by saying, yeah, you really need to take care of your own situation this time, but I really feel, and I'm here to hold your hand while you do it. So that's the cool part about compassion is there's always an action component, even if that action is to do nothing.
Yeah, and sometimes to do nothing is actually a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you like I was talking, right? If the fire is already building and you put gasoline, it's gonna get murderous fire in that entire forest, right? But
Yep.
if you put water in that fire by doing nothing, or you don't even put no water, just let the fire be itself, it's gonna die off, right? It's
Yeah.
gonna die off. And sometimes it's silence is better than doing something. I mean, it takes if I respond to you angrily, I apologize. That means you really hit my nerves. Because usually I just let it go. I don't need your wrinkles today. That's what I always say. I'm like, oh, should I get a wrinkle for that? No, I know it's because I'm scared of wrinkles, and I know I'm gonna get one of these days. And when you're approaching 50, you see a little. I'm like, oh man, and
Yeah.
so it's I've grown up where my grandmother's beauty queen forever, and so she always have taught me like skincare and blah blah blah. And so it takes me an hour and a half to do skincare on my face, guys, morning and night. Okay, and yeah. But at the same time, she's like, you can age gracefully. You just have not to worry about other people and carry other people's issues. I'm like, Grandma, how do I do that? I'm a people pleaser. And before she died, she told me, silence is a virtue. And I'm like, how can I be silent? I'm a talkative person. She's like, honey, you know how your grandfather and I argue and I silently just don't speak and he gets really angry and then I walk out and slam the door and then he stops? I'm like, yeah, exactly. You're doing that not physically, but this online whatever you're doing. And that's what she's told me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I tried it. And then one of my girlfriend, I didn't speak to her for like 5 months. She's like, did I say anything wrong? And I'm like, I have ADHD. I have no idea what you said. Like, I honestly don't. I was like, wait, let me look at your message. Maybe you irritated me. And I looked, I'm like, oh, yeah, you said this thing. But see, the emotion, the anger, the whatever I'm feeling at that moment is gone. It's 5 months ago. The one thing and the bad thing about ADHD is that we don't stay in the moment of anger or anything. The bad thing is we don't stay in the moment. That's the bad thing and the good thing at the same time. But if we get angry at someone, like I'd be screaming at my kids, I'm like, let's go, we're late. And then 5 minutes later, I hear a Doja Cat. I'm like, okay, do you guys want coffee? And they're like, Mom. And I'm like, hey, that's just how I roll. I don't stay angry or anything. It's because there's no point. You could die right now angry. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Don't do that to yourself. Have more compassion for yourself. Don't be
Yes.
angry. Smile. And if people don't like you, thank you. And then they even hate you some more. Thank you some more.
I'm stealing your I don't need that wrinkle. I love it. I'm
You
taking
should. Right? I mean, have you seen people with so many wrinkles? You're like, yeah, this is for the age because of this. I'm like, no, I'm not taking that wrinkle today. Nope. No
yeah.
shooting, right? And I'm
No,
like,
I'm stealing it.
unless you pay me for my time getting wrinkled because you're making me angry, okay, we can talk about it. But you're just getting me angry for the sake of angry. Also, another in a serious note, culture makes a huge difference. Um I used to teach like big corporations on culture because culture will eat strategy for days. It doesn't matter what your strategy is. You don't understand the culture, you're done. You're
Yeah.
done. I don't care what business you're in. My
Yeah.
family's been in business everywhere in the world. We understand. But the hardest part is culture. Okay. If you don't understand the culture, you're not going to understand. And another thing other than culture is flexibility, right? When you show compassion, you need to be flexible because you don't know what people are feeling. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what's in their head. So stop finishing off sentences, CJ. That's what I do sometimes. I finish people's sentence. I'm like, dude, I just did that, right? But I tried to not to because I don't understand everybody, but I want to understand somebody. Maybe not everybody, just somebody, right? And before we end this conversation, because I'm having so much fun, if this is your last day today, Melissa, on this earth, what would be your parting message to your current and future families and your clients, really, and your friends that you found in terms of living life, legacy, and impact?
You do you. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about what other people say. Be authentically who you are. And if someone else doesn't like it, then that's their business. Be who you are. You do you 100% every day.
And don't get a wrinkle.
And no wrinkles. Yes. Unless they're authentic. I think mine are
Right?
authentic.
Listen, you get a wrinkle, it's because you wanted it to be there, not because everybody else is giving it to you and you're taking it. Another thing
Yes.
is you either be impressed or suppressed. Sometimes silence is a virtue. Doesn't mean you're suppressed. It means it's a choice you made. Now,
Yes.
if you're not choosing it and you feel so bad inside because you got suppressed, that is definitely suppression. And and that's okay because tomorrow is another day to be impressed. And that's okay, right?
Yes.
Leslie, headband matches. Actually, I'm bougie like that, okay? I go to Marshalls because I'm cheap. And I literally, it's this. I'm going to show you. It's this. This is my headpiece for my thing, and I add it in my headpiece. I know I'm extra, but I like to get my creative side to come out because I'm mostly structured during the day, and so during the night I kind of just put my creative side. So thank you. Any last minute about your book coming out?
Yes, I am so excited about this. So it's called The Empathic Leader: How EQ via Empathy Transforms Leadership for Better Productivity, Profit, and Innovation. And I'm really excited because it's actually going to be kind of the handbook for everything that I teach. And there's going to be QR codes at the end of the chapters so people can just link to videos because you know how it is, different people learn differently. So if they learn better with video or visually rather than audially, then it's all going to be there and it will be out in September. So I have a pre-sale link up at Stan Store. It's called The Empathic Leader. So you can pre-order, and if you do, you will get a discount, and I will sign it. I will autograph it, and maybe someday that'll be worth something. You never know. So that's fantastic, and if not, it will be out in September, and I'm just so excited. I mean, if you would have asked me 16 years ago when all that stuff hit, I would never have believed that I would be able to turn it around. So just the fact that I've been able to turn it around and do something good that's going to hopefully impact a lot of people, just yay, it makes me
Two
happy.
things that came out of the conversation. You're definitely, I see you as soul-hearted, right? Not just heart-centered, because heart-centered people talk about that, they come from the heart, but there's a difference. You're leveled up for me. when you're soul-hearted. Soul-hearted means that your entire passion for helping others exudes in your work. And I love that. So I hope that you apply for 50 inspirational connections, because I would love to highlight that.
Yeah.
And another thing is empathy is everything, but we're work in progress. Whip, work in progress. I okay, ADHD moment. You know that I think it's a Korean. Is it Korean? Yeah, I think it's Korean. Have you heard of that song? It's got a Oh no, it's not Korean. It's a not Woke Nang Gangnam Style. It's the there's that song. Oh my gosh, I don't know the title. It's like you gotta go whip, whip. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna tell you that, because I think we're definitely work in progress. And Leslie, there are so many people who loves us, the those who do not. Why do we focus on those who do not? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
For real, because I think our brain is geared towards negativity. It attaches to negativity, and that's why we talk about a lot of things that are negative. But we need to unf our brain and literally say, okay, we're going to focus on the positive, because we feel crappy when we focus more on the negative, but yet we still keep talking about it because it just fills the cup of gossip. Like, I gossip too. Okay, that's true. But I think we need to gossip more about the positive things that others are doing rather than the negative things that people are doing. That way we can attract more good energy people. Dr. Leslie, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. We appreciate you. And yes, we do have a choice.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here. We still have 929 people here. Yeah, all the way to the end. Thank you, YouTube. We appreciate you. We love you. Do you have a quote that you would like to end, Dr. Melissa?
Man, there's so many good ones. The Maya Angelou quote is, I think everybody has empathy, but not everyone has the courage to use it. So today's your day to be courageous.
I love that. For me, it's this. This is my own. To handle yourself, use your head, but to handle others, use your heart, especially with empathy.
Yeah. Yeah. Bravo. I love it. I'm stealing that too. I'm stealing all sorts of stuff from you today.
Hey, it's not stealing. It's called level up borrowing, people. We are reinventing, and sharing. That's all it is, right?
Yes.
That's all it is.
I'll
Bye.
give you credit, but I'm stealing it.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.